How do you actually buy a house? In this video tutorial I will show you a step-by-step process on how to actually buy a house. This isn't a 5-minute video as we have a lot to cover. As a real estate agent and someone who is looking to buy a house, I decided to make this video to help you better understand home buying process. So without further ado, let's jump into the step 1. Get pre-approved for a mortgage. Obviously you cannot buy a house if you're not pre-approved or if you do not have cash. So if you are buying a house for cash, be free to skip this step. I'm gonna make another video to talk about is buying a house even for you. I know that we have been told that everyone should be a homeowner and it's a lot cheaper than renting, but let's face it. Buying a home is a huge commitment, and I'm not saying you shouldn't buy a house. What I'm saying is you should determine your budget and monthly payment that you feel comfortable at. So ask yourself a few questions. In the past few months, did you ever miss a rent payment? Is your income steady or all over the place? For example, I'm in real estate and I do not have paycheck coming every 2 weeks. So I had to have a lot of money saved up to feel safe that I will be able to pay my mortgage if my business isn't doing well. So if you still wanna buy a house, let's jump into some things you should know about pre-approvals and mortgages. I will just go over the basics now. If you wanna hear more professional opinion, I suggest you speak not to one, but a few lenders to determine what options you may have. And make sure to ask for pre-qualification. Lender will usually look at your approximate credit score, tax returns, pay stubs before actually pulling your credit. Okay, there is a few main things lender will be looking at. Number 1 would be your income. Like I mentioned before, if you have exact same paycheck coming every 2 weeks, that is great. You will have to provide 1 or 2 years of pay stubs depending on the lender. If you are self-employed, you will usually need 2 years of tax returns, and they're going to average your 2 years of self-employed income. And this is where many people are making mistake. Your loan pre-approval will be based off of your adjusted gross income. So if you deduct too much, you might not be able to qualify for a bigger loan because in their eyes you only made what you paid tax on. There is a way around this, for example bank statement loans. This is a home loan program that uses bank statements to calculate borrower's income instead of using tax returns or W-2. So if you have substantial tax write-offs, this would maybe an option for you. Again, speak to your lender about your situation. Second thing your lender will be looking at is your debt to income ratio, or DTI. These are your monthly obligations divided by your income. So stuff like student loans, credit cards, car payments and all other installments you are paying. This doesn't include your current rent or any bills you may have. For example, gym membership or phone bill, electricity bill is not calculated into your DTI. And the third thing would be the credit score. You should consult with your lender to see what credit cards or what installments make sense to pay off before applying for a loan. The higher score you have, the better terms you are going to get on your loan. And I see so many people thinking that you have to have 750 plus credit score to even be considered for a loan, which is not true at all. I saw people getting approved for a mortgage with a credit score as low as 580. Let's now address the most common house buying question. How much money do you need to put down? There's two most common loans out there, conventional and FHA. With conventional loan, people are usually putting anywhere between 10 to 20% down, and you need to have at least 620 credit score to be able to qualify for this loan type. Even though you can put less, but it will depend on a certain situation. If you put anything below 20%, the bank will usually give you PMI, which stands for Private Mortgage Insurance. This covers mortgage lenders in case the borrower defaults on a loan. So this PMI doesn't go towards your principal. It would be the best if you can just put 20% down and avoid PMI, but in case if you do not have enough money, once you reach 20% equity in your home, you can ask the bank to cancel the PMI. And then you have the second most common loan, and that is FHA. With FHA loan you can put as low as 3.5% down. Important thing to know is that FHA loan will have more strict appraisal than a conventional loan. They want to make sure that the property meets minimum FHA requirements. For example, on one of my listings, the front porch stairs were broken and we had some exposed wires in the bathroom. This showed in the appraisal report, and the bank didn't want to give the loan until these problems are addressed. Again, for more specific questions, talk to your lender. Okay, so now we have a pre-approval, and this is where the fun actually begins. Let's go into the next step, and that's starting a home search. First thing I recommend you to do is to write down your home criteria. What location do you want to be in? How many bedrooms? What square footage? Is backyard important to you? Write down things that you cannot compromise, things you cannot live without. What are your must-haves and what are your nice-to-haves? Do you need a basement for your pool table? Do you want a nice open big layout? Do you want a big kitchen? If you are buying a house with your spouse or your partner, make sure that you are on the same page with what exactly do you want. This is gonna make your life a lot easier. A big question people often ask is, do I need to hire a real estate professional to buy a house? Technically, you do not need a real estate agent to buy a house. However, at the time of this recording, real estate commission is paid by the seller, and you as a buyer do not pay anything to your real estate agent. You may pay a transaction fee or admin fee, but most of the time your cost to hire a real estate professional when buying a home is zero. Then simply give your search criteria to your real estate agent and they will put you in automatic search directly from the MLS so you can see all the newest listings. One of the good things when it comes to using a real estate agent is that agent will be able to pull out the property disclosures from MLS. One pro tip when it comes to buying a home is to subscribe to my channel. Besides emails that your realtor is sending you, you can use websites like Zillow or Realtor.com to search for homes. One pro tip when searching for homes online is that some of these listings will have really terrible photos. Don't let this to push you away. Sometimes great houses get overlooked because the listing agent was lazy and they took the photos with their iPhone. And now it's the time to go out there and start seeing houses. If you are touring multiple houses in one day, I recommend you bring a notebook to take notes about each house and also take a video tour of each house you visit. It's really easy to get mixed up when you see multiple properties in one day. Also, do your research on how much certain things cost to replace. Sometimes people don't want to write an offer because the carpet is ugly or they don't like the light fixtures. These are all small items that can be replaced anytime after the closing. Pay attention to the big stuff like electrical, roof, foundation. Inspection report will be able to tell you if something is really wrong with the house, which we are gonna be talking just in a minute. Once you finally find something you like, it's time to write an offer. This is where your agent will be advising you, hopefully not to overpay for the property. It will also depend. If it's a hot market, it may happen that you end up in multiple offer situation. So your agent will call the listing agent to see what's important to the seller. Do they need a fast closing? How many offers are there? What exactly do they want to see on that offer? Again, it's up to you and your agent to see what strategy you will be using to get your offer accepted. So once the seller accepts your offer terms, that becomes a binding contract. Contract outlines what will be happening before the closing and also what contingencies are there. So inspections, closing date, final walkthrough, maybe you want the seller to leave that nice TV in the living room, it will all be written in the contract. Congratulations, you are officially under contract. Now the contract goes to the lender and to the title company. Now it's time for you to pay earnest money deposit. This is usually anywhere between 1 to 3% of the purchase price, and this money is credited to you at the closing. This way you are showing a good faith to buy this house. If there is a multiple offer situation, it's a smart idea to put higher earnest money deposit to show the seller that you are serious about buying their house. Also keep in mind that if the deal falls through because of inspection or the appraisal, you are getting this money back. Okay, let's go into the next step, and that is a home inspection. After your offer gets accepted, you will usually have 7 to 10 days to perform the home inspection, or depending what's written in the contract. I advise all buyers to perform a home inspection unless you're 100% sure of what you are doing or you have extensive knowledge on construction and home building. Inspection costs a couple $100 and you can use anything that the inspection finds as a negotiation tool. The inspection will last anywhere between 2 to 4 hours and their job is to discover as many things as possible and to warn you about some potential defects on the property. So don't freak out when you see that long inspection report. For the second, it's gonna look like the whole house is falling apart. Trust me, these guys can find problems even in a brand new house. So like I said, if there is something really wrong with the house, you do have a right to back out from the deal or negotiate further. So keep in mind that this is a general home inspector, and if you bring 5 inspectors, you will get 3 different opinions on a certain items. Let's go into the next step, which is appraisal. If you are buying a house for cash, you do not need an appraisal from your lender, but you can hire one to make sure you're not overpaying for the property. One thing to know is that the appraisal is paid by the borrower, and this is included in your closing costs. So your lender will order the appraisal, and the appraisal comes out to determine how much your property is worth in the current market conditions. They just want to make sure that they're going to be able to sell the property if you default on the loan, if that makes sense. They will look at the overall condition of the property and the comparable sales in that area. There are a few things that can happen here. The house can appraise above the sales price, which is good for you. It can appraise right at the sales price, which is also good for you. Or the house can appraise below sales price, which means that the bank thinks you overpaid for a home, and then there is a gap between the appraised value and the contract price. In this case, you have a few options. First option is you can bring that extra cash to the closing table to cover the gap, or you can ask the seller to reduce the price. So you are using this as a leverage to negotiate the price down. If they don't want to lower the price and you don't want to bring extra cash to the closing table, the deal will fall apart and you can walk away with your earnest money deposit. Okay, the appraisal is done, we are almost there. Now it's the time for a final walkthrough. This is usually 1 to 3 days before the closing, and you're basically walking through the house to see if everything is the way it should be. If you ask the seller to fix certain items, you want to make sure that those repairs have been completed. The walkthrough takes anywhere between 10 to 30 minutes. It's up to you basically how much time are you going to spend there. Once the final walkthrough has been completed, we are now moving to the closing. 3 days before the closing, you will usually get the closing disclosure. Here you will be able to see what exactly your purchase price is, what your down payment, how much are you paying for a home insurance, how much are taxes, and if you ask the seller for some closing cost credits, it would also be there. This is a full breakdown of your financials. Once you approve that, the title company will send you the payment instructions. The closing usually takes place at the title company, but realistically it can happen anywhere. They can come to your house, you can meet them at the local coffee shop, you're just signing a bunch of papers and seeing if everything is lined up. After all parties have signed and the title has transferred, the agent will arrange the key pickup, and congratulations, you are officially a homeowner. So how long does everything take once you get under contract? Let's do a quick recap. So first you have day 1 offer acceptance. This is when you get under contract. Then you have the inspection period 7 to 10 days. Then you have the appraisal anywhere between 2 to 3 weeks. And after that you have your final loan approval. The average time frame to close on a house is anywhere between 30 to 45 days. There is a lot to cover here, and I'm 100% sure I missed something. Make sure to ask questions down in the comments. What step are you currently in? I really hope I answered some of your questions about the home buying process. If you find this video interesting, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next video.